and that kind of things?
Yeah, so let's just treat it like a talk back after a performance, right? So we'll set it up and we'll talk about it. We'll have the Shocap up and the virtual. We can set up the virtual cam. We can switch to the witness cam.
So you'll be able to switch in the Zoom, showing the witness cam or the in-world cam.
Yep. Or
And
us,
then, if I wanted to, if we want to tell the artist to do stuff, while you're still able to switch POV cams, and show that. So how can we convey what we want to do with them? Or I let you lead it, and then I don't really talk to the artist, and I just take care of talking about the creative aspects to the Zoom.
Yeah, you can talk to me, and I can talk to I can shout to the artist. And
yeah, okay.
My volume's up pretty far. They might even hear you. So.
Okay, great. And all of that talking will be done through the Zoom.
Yeah.
So Thomas, did you want to try spotlighting yourself, or do you? I don't know if you can, but it's worth a try to see. Maybe only I can do it.
I have to do it.
It's okay. We can do it up here. I just wanted to see if you had control as well.
I don't have it from my laptop, but that's the joke. I have it from.
There's some people in the waiting room. I don't know if some of them are supposed to be admitted now, or is they're just.
They're not. We're just waiting for Alex.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm here. I'm just on audio, but I'll be able to do that intro for you guys.
Great.
Yeah.
For some reason I'm just trying to get it.
Too, right?
Yeah, and we
should do
definitely
that.
should.
Yeah. I
So
haven't done that yet.
It'll save locally in.
Is that a setting we should look?
Yeah, actually check if you want to hit the record button right now, just as a test.
Oh. Try to do it on the computer, right?
Yes. I mean, I probably trust the computer. It'll eventually go to the cloud
when you're done.
there, but yeah, and then it should notify everybody once it's ready to go. Because I think Stein was also asking to make sure it would be recorded. And actually, I don't know if I have the power to do that. So. Okay, I don't have that permission, but it's okay. So.
Yeah, so these are what's going there, right?
Yeah, I think I can help handle manage the waiting room.
Okay.
And then the record function, and I think pinning the spotlighting is like those two are like host only functions.
Okay.
So that's something. Those are what we'll need you to manage, and then
okay, no problem.
A lot of the rest.
Oh, did you stop? You stopped and started the mocap, or is mocap been running the whole time? Okay, so, all right, so I need to reconnect, I'm guessing. Let me just see. Okay, yeah, so we're still connected. That's good.
Oh, wait, actually, I cannot see the waiting room.
Oh, you can't?
No.
Okay, I'm just going to admit everybody at once.
Sure. If people come late is a bit of the question. If they come in late and then they'll have to pop back into admit. You can always press
I can always
admit
just
all.
keep hitting admit all.
Yeah, so just periodically checking back to that, I think.
Okay. How's your pre-show jitters, guys?
It's super exciting, man. Nice to see you, Brett.
Nice to see you.
Hey, Thomas, I have to say, I hope everything goes as well as it went in the runs, but it's looking really exciting.
Super fun.
Did you see it already a bit, Brett?
I did. I watched the last run through.
Great.
Yeah, it was super cool.
I mean, for a really quick prototype version of what we have in mind done in 2 days, I think it's unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah, agreed, agreed. Very fun.
So I'm gonna actually, just for a second. It's not awesome, but
There should be
With Sam having 7 fingers, so I
stuffing my face.
decided to now start researching artists and how we can blend the language of circus with motion capture and the language of movies and special effects in video games, but to turn that into a live experience.
Oh, I shouldn't mute myself. Hey, Thomas, if you're playing video during a presentation, I believe there's a setting for that to make it play smoother. I don't know if you're aware of that.
yeah, there is, but it's actually coming through. If it's coming through vMix, then
Oh, then it's fine.
it's different.
Okay.
Because it's coming through as my camera.
Yeah,
Which,
got it.
but it froze up just a second there, so I was just
Okay.
making sure it wasn't. Would it be better, you think, to play the video like as a present the video rather than trying to do it through the vMix?
That's beyond me. I don't know. If it's working already in vMix, I wouldn't change it.
Hey, Thomas, the vMix is, I keep it on for my live cam into the world, right?
Yep.
We got 6 people in the waiting room. 15 minutes early.
Excellent.
So you can see Alex is recording.
Oh, yeah. And he's
That's
allowed
fine.
to. Is he the host? Can everybody record?
See, but even I can't.
Guys, is that okay? Should you not want me? I was like doing a recording for like archival. No, yay, no.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
No, it's fine. We were more just discussing why Jacqueline can't record. So do you have a paid account, Alex?
I've got, yeah, I've got like I've got a panel. I got participants, pause, stop recording, reactions.
Okay.
Oh.
But do you have a an actual paid Zoom account yourself?
Right. What I'm using right now is not a paid Zoom account. No.
Oh, okay. So it's not,
I don't have those options, but I know that they should. I'm gonna try and rejoin the meeting.
Okay. Yeah. I'll record it here too, Thomas, for you.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, one more time, if you could let me in.
Yeah.
And make me a comment.
Yeah. Oh, there's allow record button. Let's see if it does it automatically for you.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice.
Once everyone's ready
Oh,
to go, I just need to make sure that.
So I
Oh, you
can
do?
also see, admit people.
So,
Great. All right.
yeah.
Everything looks good.
So I should be getting tracking now. Yeah. Okay. Guys, can I ask you just to go center? Oh, I know. Yep. I just want to.
So, Thomas, besides the 5-minute live performance, would you like this view with the 3 of you spotlighted? Or 2 of you? in the CG? Or do you want me to,
Yeah.
for a moment, put you full
think we
screen and Sam full screen?
And the environment full screen periodically, yeah.
Okay.
But I think we're gonna probably want to go between them.
So this refresh me the order. So are you going to be introing and talking? So I'll put you full screen for a moment.
Yeah. So Alex is gonna go first.
Okay.
And he's gonna sort of introduce.
And Alex is audio only, so maybe I'll leave this 3 view up
Yeah. So,
during that.
yeah. Sure. Or you know, or you can just bring up the environment.
Okay.
And then Alex is gonna talk, and then I'm gonna talk. Do you want to say anything before we start the performance?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what you're going to say, but I might add something to it.
Okay. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how we came together in January. Did this workshop. I'll try to run the workshop video if it'll let me. And then I'll hand it to you. I'll just introduce you.
Cool.
And then you can call it, and you can start the performance. You can call on the performance to start, and then I'll hit play.
So I'll call in the performers, and will they hear me give the standby?
Yeah, and then you can give the cue to go to start.
Everyone ready? And here we go in 5, 4, 3.
Yeah.
And okay, so I'll do that. And what I was thinking to mention just before, I don't know if you feel it's, you know, I want to kind of share the excitement of presenting something, a prototype of a piece after the workshop we've done, and it's the first time it's being streamed live, and you know, the excitement of doing that today, I think, is nice to share. Also, maybe just mentioning that we're still working with off-the-shelf avatars and assets, and you know, they're a bit stereotypical, but that's more of the concept that is.
But the whole idea was that we actually we basically built everything just from from marketplace assets, and just to kind of because it gives people a sense of other theater makers a sense of kind of what they can do really quickly, even with without having to hire 3D artists and so forth.
And I think it's cool to mention also before or after, I don't know, but just so that artistically speaking, they also understand why these choices, visual choices are.
Yeah. At this point, I'm not.
And I'm seeing I have the power to remove spotlight, but I won't touch anything.
No, feel free to. Feel free to. Yeah. Okay.
Is this the best spot for me to be during the?
Yeah, wherever you want to be.
Just wondering if I want to be eyes on the stage.
You want to see that live?
Maybe.
Might be handier. Then we should decide if we can't communicate. We should decide who's going to change spotlight then.
Oh.
Do you want to do it since you're right down there? Or.
Yeah, I think I could do that.
Or will it be hard to hear?
So let me just test. For example, I think I can remove that. Okay, so yeah, actually then I can do the spotlight on the performance and then to the speakers. And, okay, nice. I can either replace the spotlight, so it would just be.
Okay,
yeah.
So you can go from 3 to 1 really easy.
And then, or just be adding spotlights too. So yeah, I can do that. And that's a good thing I can handle.
Okay.
So I'll go back down to this.
Okay, I'll just tell these guys, am I unmuted? Yeah. So Athomas, Jacqueline has control over the spotlight, so she's going to sit right down with you so that she'll kind of be in tune with what's happening, and then she can do it. And she can just look at her if the spotlight's not right. Sounds good. I think you're muted, but I assume you're saying yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Perfect.
okay then.
All right.
This is good.
We'll see you in a bit.
Yep. So
Bon appétit.
That's right. I kept turning off my camera and then turning it back on. I forgot I was eating. Gotta do it. You're muted, Thomas.
We need to put the YouTube link back in the chat.
Okay. Should we wait till we admit everybody? They won't see it if we don't.
Sure, sure.
Okay. We should tell Jacqueline that if she's down there to make sure if she's admitting people to repaste the link at the same time.
We need to put the YouTube link in the chat. Okay. It's the one that we just had, I think. So yeah.
I'm going to paste it in the chat right now so you guys have a version of it to grab. No one else will see it but you guys because they're not in yet.
Good times.
It's pretty cool. You can see the little characters moving into the warehouse and
Yes.
you know, ants. Great.
Okay, maybe I'll start with this. At 1:10, I'm going to start the YouTube stream. Everybody's markers are on. All good.
This looks amazing. Wow. I'm so excited to see this.
Good.
Tell them something here. Hey, Thomas, I was just thinking,
Yes.
because the audience is not going to be expecting a YouTube link, might have to be a little patient. Like, tell them if you find the chat window, the link is there. Give
Yeah, no,
people
I'll
a
talk them
second.
through it, and I'll give people a few minutes to connect.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
no,
Great.
link itself, you want me to paste it, or I mean, as soon as people are in, like, that link is there?
Yeah, I mean, if they, I think the deal is they only see the chat after they
They
enter.
joined? I think so.
Right, so we should let people in. We'll talk a bit, and then we'll paste the chat in because that'll give other people, stragglers, a little bit of time to come in. And then we'll say, we're gonna paste the link, the YouTube link in the chat. Give everyone a few minutes to bring it up. And
I'll just hear these cues, and if it's not,
yeah, I'll be standing right here. So. Okay, can you check that link right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're seeing this, perfect. All right, the video is up and live. Where's that music coming from? Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure we weren't streaming from some.
Oh, no, sorry, I was doing a last minute.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Get in the zone.
Just wanted to make sure I knew where it was coming from.
Hitting all my cues.
Yeah. I was like, are we already streaming? Did I hit play already?
Is there a 3D world that is devoid of
Yeah.
people right now? Or like warming up circus artists instead of performing monkeys?
It's not.
Hey, Thomas, someone did send the links to the Seven Fingers and to Marion? Yeah, I guess so. I didn't see if it arrived, but you're muted.
I did. If they don't have it, maybe like someone could just resend it again, but I did send them the link, the Zoom link.
Okay.
But feel free to forward it on. I just don't want to bring up my
Yeah,
email
yeah,
or anything
I'll do it.
right now. So Alex, it's 1:15. Are we good to go?
We're good to go. Yeah. Are people in?
I'm gonna admit them all right now.
Sounds
Here
good.
they come.
Welcome everyone to our first round of presentations for PXR 2020. We want to thank the support of the Canada Council for the Arts Digital Strategy Fund. We'd like to acknowledge that this event's been organized primarily on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations. And we are here today to see Shocap and Les Doigts collaborative project live in Virtual Circus. This is a live stream demonstration, Digital Circus, incredibly excited for this. And I'm now gonna pass this over to walk us through their process and discoveries to Athomas Goldberg, co-founder and executive director of Shocap Entertainment, and Sam Tetreault, co-artistic director of Les Doigts. Take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. And I'm Athomas Goldberg. I am the co-executive director of Shocap Entertainment, along with Brett Einesen, who is on the call. Normally, I don't do Zoom calls with my mask on, but we are here today at Animatrix Mocap Studio because we're going to share with you a little something we put together this week, and to show off some of the work we've been doing in integrating real-time motion capture and rendering for live performance. A little bit about Shocap. Shocap itself was started earlier this year, but it was co-founded by myself and my company Lifelike Unbelievable Animation Design. And I've been working in animation primarily in games and virtual reality for the last 25 years, but I got my start in theater as a designer in New York back in the late 80s, early 90s. And so it's been a dream of mine throughout my career in computer graphics to eventually be able to sort of come back and bring together sort of my love of both of computer animation with my love for live performance. And so over the last few years, we finally gotten to the point with computer graphics technologies, with XR technologies, where we can really start to create things that become a little bit more than tech demos, where we can actually express different aesthetics and different sort of more kind of emotional and kind of human ideas through the combination of live performance and computer graphics. And then our co-founders was Brett Einesen of Animatrix Film Design, and we're currently in Animatrix Mocap Studios here in Burnaby. And if I can, or if we can spotlight the stage. And I'm here with Cameron Fraser, wave, Sidonie Adamson, and Kasha Kanaka. 3 local circus performers based here in Vancouver, along with Sam Tetreault. We can spotlight Sam. Is you spotlight Sam? Okay,
Hello. I'm here.
Les Doigts, who's based in Montreal. And so this has been a really sort of fun experiment for all of us in kind of working collaboratively in real time across across the continent. So I'll let Sam talk a little bit as well.
Yes, well, hello everyone. I have to say it's really exciting to be presenting you this little piece today. The idea behind the LiViCi project that we are developing together with Athomas and Shocap and the 7 Fingers is to combine the creative work that we do with Les Doigts de la Main with 7 Fingers. We operate as a collective of artistic directors and using this contemporary circus arts as a artistic language to express human stories that are touching, engaging, and hopefully pertinent. And the idea with LiViCi is to create a show. It's a long-term project for in a year and a half or so, where we would have a show that is both experienced live by in-venue audiences and live by online participants. And strangely, you know, we started working on this already 6 months ago before the pandemic, but I think now that the pandemic is really showing us that we are all connected in the world, that things happen in one part of the world have an impact in other parts of the world. We are all in the same room together. So these technologies and this possibility to reach a worldwide audience eventually with a live performance, that's very exciting. So this is still really a very fresh prototype. We've just worked 2 days. I hope everything goes well technically. Just a quick word on the visuals and the digital assets that you will see. They are all off the shelves avatars and assets. So they're a bit overly stereotyped. Forgive us for that. We can talk more about the technical aspect of it, but at least it's to give you an idea of this cross reality performance. So if everyone is ready in the studio, hey Thomas, you let me know if we're good to go, if the performers are good to go. We'll have a first taste of that.
Yeah, so before we get started, we've just pasted a link to a YouTube stream. We often find that streaming video over YouTube provides some better quality. So if people, you know, have the ability to do so, you might want to click on that link that's in the chat, and we'll give you all a minute to do that. And that'll take you over to the live stream. We will continue to stream this over Zoom as well, but you know, you'll just get better frame rate and performance from the YouTube stream. So it will give people a few more seconds to get started, and then we'll start the show.
Hey Thomas, I'm gonna mute you guys while that's happening, so you'll have to unmute me when you want to come back.
Okay.
Great. Just before it's muted, hey Thomas, you're gonna give the discount to the artist, or am I doing that?
You can count down the artist, but I'll let you know when we get everything. Some people had a question in the chat. Yeah, you'll want to listen to YouTube during the performance. So all right, and so I'm gonna assume that everyone has had a chance to do that. So whenever you're ready, Sam, you can count down.
Alrighty, so everyone enjoy. And here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and action. All right. Thank you. Yay. This is great. All right. I don't know if we can hear, but I don't have any sound of the people in the room.
Oh, we were all just still muted. We can hear you.
Okay, great. I just got worried, hey, Thomas. It seemed like the soundtrack was not playing in the Zoom for me.
In the Zoom?
Yeah, I don't know if everyone was on YouTube. I guess that was good, but
They
oh, it
said it
played.
played.
Great. Thanks.
We heard everything. Great.
I don't know if it was just me, but I was having a problem with the sound with it cutting out on one ear occasionally.
That could be.
That actually had to do with some issues with the spatialized audio that I didn't have opportunity to tweak before we started.
Great.
So, yes. So if it was changing from ear to ear, that was not a new issue. That was an issue that I was aware of. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. We certainly enjoyed putting it together. So I thought we'd take this time, we can do a few things right now. I wanted to really treat this as like a talk back after a show. So, there's some things that I'd like to talk about in terms of the, the technical aspects of this, and Sam's going to talk a little bit about the creative stuff. But we're really hoping that, to make this more of a discussion, an opportunity for people to ask questions. We've got the performers here, so we can see them, we can take a look at them both in their, in the studio, and then also, in their, sort of virtual versions of themselves. And yeah, so at this point, maybe I'll let Sam talk a little bit first.
Well, no, I have to say that
Talk
this
about the process of putting together the piece from your perspective, and then we can kind of, before we like open up the hood and start talking about kind of what was underneath. And then
yes,
we'll
well,
we'll open
I
up
can
questions.
that sounds good, hey, Thomas, thanks. And we for sure keep some time for questions, but maybe to get us started on the creative side of things, I feel like we are really, opening a new horizon in terms of live performance by combining it to the virtual reality. And the idea is to really have, for me to see how we can use these technological, amazing effects to treat them with the real-time motion capture, and to create an experience that is engaging both for the audience in venue, in a theater, and the audience, the virtual audience or the online participants. So now you've seen mostly the virtual online experience, but as you could notice, there was always in the main scenes, except for the first one, because for some reason the live video feed didn't appear. So we were missing that. But in the moment where you had the girl on the ring, there was in the smoke a live video camera filming the action in the studio, which eventually would be the action on the stage in a venue, being projected virtually into that virtual world. And the same thing for the handstand and contortion act. You had a view of the live action on stage. So the idea is to create a bit of a portal for the live audience in venue to have access to the virtual world, and for the virtual audience online to have access to the live action on stage. And this is a really beautiful and challenging, complex way of imagining the dramaturgy of a show so that it works for both of these experiences at the same time. Then, of course, all the technical aspects, it's all like prototyping levels. There's Athomas and the Shocap team have been developing a prototype of a kind of in show business, we have a software that's called QLab, which you can use to cue video and sound and light cues. And now they're developing a software that allows us to cue all these virtual camera angles and switch from one POV to another POV, and so on. So that's also a big part of the development, is to see how we can coordinate all that technology so that it becomes very smooth. Hey, Thomas, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add on this, or if you want to show a little bit how we're switching when we talk about these POVs and when we talk about these live feeds.
So if we can,
maybe we could show
we can go
examples.
to the, I'm just going to add, this display over here.
I'm laughing because I don't know if you see on the Shocap entertainment frame now, you have all the avatars, you know, resting and waiting for for
waiting for new cues. So I'm just going to draw. So let's bring this up.
I'll open the chat.
Yeah, so hopefully you can see now yeah, can we bring up Spotlight the so we're in the process, as Sam was saying, of developing a system we're calling Ringmaster, and it's really a way of you know, it's specifically designed for, you know, driving kind of a real-time rendering and, you know, motion capture show live in performance. And so typically the way the software is used, and we're currently working with the Unreal Engine as our sort of rendering and, you know, sort of interaction engine. And typically the way Unreal is used, it's used to create games in VR, where the system is based largely on, you know, AI and user input. And it's becoming more increasingly being used for in virtual production as a way of doing previs and even shot development for film, where you have this, you know, the results is this linear product, you know, sort of this linear story that you're telling, that then gets recorded much the same way you would record film and edit and so forth. And so, you know, at either end of those spectrums, we have something that's not quite what we want for live performance. What we want is the ability to, at a very high level, sort of define the effects in cameras and, you know, and audio cues and so forth, and control them as we would control them in a show, cue to cue. We're not going to put them on a sequence that's, you know, that's perfectly linear, but at the same time, we also don't want to turn this into a game where I've got to, like, you know, run around with my controller to try to, you know, trigger cues from point to point. And so, you know, that's really been the focus of this work, is making it very quick and easy for us to grab any element in the scene and drop that into a cue, whether it's a lights or sound or effects, and trigger events and control parameters on those things, on those elements, you know, throughout the show. And then we can drive those sort of by hand. So I can go and I can, you know, pick any one of these cues, and in this case, sort of change the cameras.
So for instance, you can go from a virtual point of view. So let's say that we're using Sidoni's virtual point of view. Sidoni is the fairy in the middle. So if Sidoni now looks at one of the other characters, they're seeing, so she can act as a Steadicam for us into the world, and we can direct what we want her to show us. And if Kasia now goes towards the mirror, back to you, Kasia, the small mirror with the green line on the floor, remember, in the studio? And then let's stay in Sidoni's POV. And Sidoni, come close, so you're both seen in the mirror. Come close to Kasia. And look at the mirror, both look at the line.
So I want you both to go near the mirror.
So now what is happening, which is like pretty mind-blowing, is that Sidoni, keep looking at the mirror, Sidoni. She has a virtual camera on her head that gives us a virtual point of view in a virtual world. And on that surface, we are embedding a live video footage that is filmed in the studio with a real camera, filming from across the mirror so that we have the illusion of their reflection. So that's what we mean about portals between the two realities. And there's all sorts of effects that we're developing to find how to integrate that in a creative, artistic way that kind of makes sense with the virtual world. And then so with the Ringmaster, we can switch from, I don't know if you can do that live, Thomas, but replace the video, maybe not in that mirror though, but we could decide to replace that live video footage by a virtual mirror that would just give a reflection of what's happening in the virtual room. And we could also swap to another virtual cam that is not a POV cam. So for instance, the over the shoulder angle that we chose, and maybe Cameron, can you go to the over the shoulder angle to your position where you need to be? So now that's like if we were in a movie set, we've placed a virtual camera in the space, and that camera gives us another angle on what Cameron is seeing. And then we could even go to Cameron's POV and then see what he's seeing. So now and Cameron, look at above the mirror at the far end of the room. A bit less, more to your left.
Look up
Not
stage, Cameron.
the big mirror, yes. And then you can see me. So we're even streaming now the live footage of myself. So that's like pretty mind-blowing. So do you want to give the view of what's happening now in the room, hey Thomas? Highlight the not in the virtual room, but in the studio, the actual studio.
Oh, sure.
The witness cam.
Yeah.
That's what now what it looks like in the motion capture studio. But as we said, the idea is to eventually turn that into a live performance where there would be an audience. So instead of having neon lights and a very boring room, you would have a stage design with some props on stage and show lighting and video matte surface that would recreate for that moment of the show the warehouse that we see in the virtual world. So then you have a scenography that also connects the live audience to the virtual world for that moment of the show.
So Sam, actually, and someone else had a question about the use in a live performance. Maybe this would be a good time for me to sort of just show that highlights video from January.
Okay. My name is Sam from the Seven Fingers, so I'm excited to now start researching with the circus artists and how we can with new storytelling tools. So yeah, it's very exciting. This space is amazing. Yeah, Thomas, that was a great idea to show that, because this gives a bit more of a taste of what would be the live experience where you.
That was from our workshop that we did in January. And that was actually the first time Sam and I actually got a chance to work together. And it was another, much like what we did this week, it was a very sort of improvisational workshop where, at that time, a lot of what you saw there were things that were ideas that we would come up with in the morning. We'd spend lunchtime sort of pulling things together, and then we would rehearse and, and shoot things in the afternoon.
Someone, Thomas, is asking about the constructing of the virtual world.
And so, hopefully that'll give you a little bit more of a sense of how these, the combination of live performance and projection might be used on stage. One of the things that we discovered really in January was, how very powerful it was to be able to sort of see the performer on stage and then to see sort of their avatar's point of view projected. And it was this, for us, it's really a way of exploring kind of, I always talk about sort of this internal and external, this internal external world where what we see on stage, are the characters and, and the environments that exist kind of in the real world. And then we're able to use this projection as a way of kind of revealing as, through the performance, the sort of internal state of the characters and, sort of the underlying kind of emotional story that that ties in with what's being played on stage. And often the most interesting things we do are when we create kind of contrasts, where what happens on what the performers are doing on stage actually is not a mirror necessarily of what's happening on the screen, but actually provides from another layer of meaning. So we've got some questions in the chat that I want to make sure we get to.
Hey, Thomas, can you hear me? Because I think I'm muted.
There was a couple of questions about the delay. Oh, I think that Brett managed to answer that. But I think what we saw in the in the performance and in the projection, everything you saw was real time. And so there's a few frames of delay between the performance and what's and what we see projected, but generally there are things we do to kind of keep that to to a minimum.
Can you hear me now?
And, so there's a question for the performers. Sort of how does this feel for them versus performing without the tech? Yeah, maybe come a little closer. Yeah, it's fine.
Another layer to process when you're building an act.
Because then I can still see on that.
So I think for me in a rehearsal setting, it feels more different than actually on stage. In the performance, you know what you have to do, you know where you're supposed to be. I think Thomas's job is way harder than mine at that point. So yeah, for me, I think the biggest difference is when we're in creation and rehearsal and figuring out how to move as a camera or as a fairy, and then learning your virtual world as well as the one you're going to be actually physically navigating is another layer that we're not used to processing. But once it's in performance, it feels, it's like a show.
It's very similar to performing in the round, but instead of your audience being everywhere, your references are everywhere. Like, I don't know if you can see at the back of the room, there's a giant TV. At the front of the room, there's a giant TV. And like, when we're the camera, you have to keep still to focus on what you're looking at, but you're also trying to get references so that you're framing the shot properly. So there's a lot of other thoughts that go on into your performance other than just, here's the trick that I have to do and I'm going to do it, or here's the choreography I'm supposed to do. But you're also managing camera angles and shot lines and sight lines. And it's an exciting process, but it's certainly different.
So before we get to, because we're coming up on 10 minutes, and there's a few people I need to kind of thank before we finish here. First, I wanted to thank the music and the poem that you heard during the performance was a poem called "Remember How We Forgot" by Shane Koizan. Who was kind enough to give us permission to use the poem was part of the piece. We felt that it really, really fit well with what we were trying to do, and this whole idea, you know, of, you know, I sort of envisioned the space that we created as being this kind of warehouse of like forgotten childhood memories. And I'm gonna just bring us back to the world again, and you know, I'll leave these guys up. But you know, and so the idea was, you know, just really kind of filled the space with, you know, with toys and posters of old movies. And
what's pretty impressive as well is that all of these assets were
artifacts from school
available
days,
just off the shelf from.
you know, and other sort of childhood elements, the retro projector and the video, and then we sort of envisioned it, you know, having existing inside this you know, archipelago of dreams, which was built by Emily Chu, who's one of our environment artists, or our environment artists who worked on this, who did an amazing job. I like how, like, even from this distance, we can still see them moving around inside the space. You know, and that's one of the really cool things about, you know, creating in this way, is that we can create these stages that are, you know, infinitely large, you know, and yet, you know, also create these sort of really kind of intimate environments, you know, in which to tell the stories. I also had a little here's my, oops, let's slow that down a little bit. So my Alfred Hitchcock insertion into the space. Yeah, I was watching the whole time. A few other people we want to thank. The work we're doing on LiViCi has been made possible through a very generous grant from Epic Games through their Epic Mega Grant program, as well as financing from the Canada Media Fund and Creative BC, which helped sort of to fund the work we're doing here and our ongoing work on the longer term project. So just want to make sure not to leave that out. And at this point, I just want to see if there's any more questions.
Hey, Thomas, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
There's a great.
Can you hear me, Thomas?
There's a great.
Sorry.
I can hear you.
We can.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great,
Yeah.
great.
There's a great question here. Where can independent artists or smaller companies connect with, you know, a company like Shocap? To where could a partnership like this start for another company?
Oh yeah, so I mean, you can find out more information about us at shocap.com, and you know, very much the you know, our kind of reason for being and creating this was to kind of open up the possibilities for live performance, and really it's very much a partnership model, and so LiViCi we're doing currently in partnership with Les Doigts, but we've also got some other things in the works around music and other types of performance, and are certainly, you know, looking to, you know, for opportunities and people who are interested in this space, you know, who want to explore what's possible here. And then in addition to that, you know, the tools are probably at a little bit of an early stage to make publicly available right now, but our plan over the longer term is to make the Ringmaster tools, you know, available at some level, you know, in an open source manner at some level, with probably a supported version kind of beyond that. But the goal really is to foster this kind of creativity and creation in the, you know, in the performance community, and to do it in a way that doesn't, you know, limit this to only sort of big budget projects, to really make this accessible to the, you know, to sort of smaller sort of theater makers.
a bit more time for more questions. If anyone has other questions, we have 5 minutes, I believe.
Can sort of scroll up and see if we got some. I mean, there was a question earlier about the process of creating the environment. I'd say the environment is primarily created by myself and Emily. And as Sam mentioned, I would say everything but the broken mirror and the handstand canes and the posters all pretty much came off of the Unreal Marketplace. And the majority of them were either sort of free or very inexpensive assets. And that was really one of the things we were going for in this particular demonstration. Is we wanted to do something that we felt, clearly we have access to this motion capture studio, but there are also sort of lower cost motion capture solutions that are available. But the creation of the digital assets and the environments were really, something that's sort of well within, I would say that, aside from our time, there's probably less than a few $100s was spent in the creation of all the digital assets in the environment.
There's a question about motion capture for the circus props and the circus movements. And this is something that is ongoing because right now the motion capture is the traditional mocap for movies with the reflective gray balls. Of course, some circus disciplines are harder on on markers than other. So it's a bit of a process of seeing how we can do that. But Athomas, maybe you can talk about how it's been done for the props themselves to be like the aerial ring, and we did the steer wheel. You did some juggling equipment as well before.
Yeah. So the system that we're using here at Animatrix it's a software called Giant. It was developed for Avatar and Lord of the Rings. And the cameras, for those who are interested, are from Optitrack. And yeah, one of the great things about the Giant software is it really does, sort of known for having an extremely stable real-time solve, which was so critical for us. If we had, if the character's limbs were sort of popping around and bending backwards and doing, things like that, which are, fairly common in, in sort of lower end solutions, we felt it would sort of break the illusion of what we're trying to create. We don't want people sort of thinking about the computer graphics, as much as possible. And the same system is used for tracking the props, like the hoop and the staff.
And the plan is that eventually we find a way to create costumes that look like stage costumes for whatever characters we are putting on stage, and that the markers will be more subtly integrated in the costumes, potentially with dynamic markers, infrared markers.
Yeah, so exactly. So right now we're using their retroreflective markers. And that means that each of the cameras around the studio is shining infrared light, which bounces off the markers and then is then seen by the cameras. Ultimately, we also have the ability to use infrared markers, which are sort of invisible light infrared that that we can sew kind of into the costumes themselves, so that they aren't visible, and the costumes at that point can really be anything that we design. In addition, and we can do the same thing for the props. And we're right now in the process of building a set of custom-made juggling props, juggling balls and clubs and rings that have embedded in them the infrared markers, so that we can sort of more easily juggle things. We've done juggling in the past, but the trick there with the retroreflective markers, you can see they all, they're little balls that extend off your body. And for juggling props, that becomes a really big challenge, because as you start to modify the profile of the prop, you're changing how it can be handled. And so for what we've done in the past, we've actually had to do quite a bit of work to ensure that the markers are don't interfere with the ability for the prop to be manipulated. And so, as I said, what we're doing now is developing props that actually have infrared markers embedded in them. So the profile of the prop is actually identical to the traditional juggling prop. And we are at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
So just want to thank everybody for joining us.
And we want to thank you, Athomas and Doigts and Shocap for this incredible demonstration. My jaw was dislocated for most of it. I was completely in awe of the work that you're doing, and it's so exciting. And I really think, like, I don't know, I've done a bit of virtual production stuff, and just this is something that I think using tools like Unreal Engine, a lot is possible, even at an entry level to people if you're willing to kind of dive in. So thanks for whetting our appetite and showing us what's possible. And now I'd love everyone to take a break because you've been jumping from VR headsets to Zoom. Take a 15-minute break. We're back in Altspace with a presentation from Dan Miller from Unity, which I strongly recommend you check out. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thanks.